again.
Can Bosley regrow your hair?
This is my hair. This is my hair.
Call or go online for your free, no-obligation self-evaluation kit. Plus, call in the next 6 minutes, and we'll even send you this $250 gift certificate. The information is free, so choose to grow back your own real hair. Choose Bosley. Call now.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kate Baldwin. Today, a public viewing is set to get underway for Sergeant LaDavid Johnson in Hollywood, Florida. One of the 4 U.S. service members, of course, killed after an ISIS-affiliated group ambushed their 12-man team in Niger. Their deaths, their sacrifices, and the reasons for it, all huge questions still, all being investigated still, and also still in danger of being overshadowed by a very sad he said, she said, they said now about the president's condolence call to Johnson's family. The president's chief of staff, John Kelly, who lost his own son in Afghanistan, made an extraordinary appearance in the press briefing room yesterday to talk about what that kind of loss means, what the president's intentions were, and also how upset he was when a congresswoman said the president offended the family of LaDavid Johnson.
It stuns me that a member of Congress would have listened in on that conversation. Absolutely stuns me. And I thought at least that was sacred.
Well, that was not the last word, though. This morning, the president calling the Florida Congresswoman Frederica Wilson wacky and a liar, even though the family has confirmed her account of what he said. Wilson now responding on CNN this morning.
The only reason I came on this morning was to say that I do not appreciate someone lying on me. If you lie on me, I'm going to answer, because I'm not going to let you get away with it. That's the way I teach my boys, and that's the way I live my life. Don't lie on me.
None of this, though, gets us any closer to the crucial questions here, and that can't be lost, of what happened to Sergeant Johnson and the 3 other members of his team that were killed. What happened to that team at that village in Niger, the 12-men team? Why did it happen? And what's going to be done now about it? Let's start at the White House right now. CNN's Caitlin Collins, she is there. Caitlin, I actually thought this last night yesterday afternoon when I was listening to John Kelly. I assumed the White House thought John Kelly's word was going to be the last one on this last night. But clearly it was not.
They certainly did, because they thought John Kelly was the most qualified person to come out and answer questions about the situation, Kate, but we're clearly seeing this public feud between the White House and this congresswoman continue to intensify, with the president tweeting about it last night, saying the fake news is going crazy with wacky Congresswoman Wilson, who was secretly on a very personal call and gave a total lie on content. Now, this all got started because the Congresswoman Wilson, who is a friend of the family of Sergeant LaDavid Johnson, who was killed during that ambush in Niger, was in the car when the president called his widow, Maisha Johnson, and it was on speakerphone. She criticized the president for what he said to her, something along the lines of he knew what he signed up for. And the president disputed that he had even said that. He said that she had fabricated it and that he had not said what Congresswoman Wilson accused him of saying. But as Chief of Staff John Kelly came out to this press briefing at the White House yesterday, this very gripping, emotional briefing with reporters, he essentially confirmed parts of that account, but sought to defend what the president had meant, because Kelly said that when Joseph Dunford told him about his son Robert dying in Afghanistan, he had said something along the same lines. But clearly it was not interpreted that way by the Johnson family. And then during that briefing, John Kelly delivered a pretty searing criticism of this congresswoman, saying that she was selfish and publicity seeking, and even recalled an event from 2015 at the dedication of an FBI building in Miami, when he said that she was trying to take the political credit for getting the funding for that building. Now, Congresswoman Wilson put out a statement last night saying that she wasn't going to comment any further on this issue. She was going to let the focus be on this grieving family here. But then she was on CNN this morning disputing what John Kelly had said about her regarding the FBI incident. But what's clear here, Kate, is that the tragedy here of these 4 soldiers who lost their lives is being completely overshadowed by this fight between the White House and this Congresswoman.
And it is everyone's job to try to make that not happen, but it's hard to have those two things happening at the very same time. Caitlin, thank you so much. We'll see what comes from the White House, if anything more on this today. I'm joining right now to discuss this, as Caitlin laid it out very well. CNN military and diplomatic analyst, retired Rear Admiral John Kirby, of course, served as spokesman to the Pentagon and the State Department under President Obama. CNN political director David Chalian is here, and CNN's senior political reporter Nia Malika Henderson. John, you spoke to this. You've spoken to this a bit, I think, but as I've been thinking about kind of the last 24 hours and the last 7 days, 5 days, if you will, can't all of these things be true about where things ended up, that the president intended to console and had the best of intentions, that the family did feel disrespected, though by his word, entered a political discussion because he is the chief of staff to a politician now?
Yes, and yes, Kate. I think all those things are true as we sit here today. What's also true is we have, as Caitlin rightly pointed out, 3 other families that are going through unspeakable grief, 2 families that are dealing with wounded troops from that same raid, and a Pentagon trying to figure out how it happened and how to prevent it from happening again. And that's where our focus needs to be, on 2 things. One, taking care of those families of those fallen and those wounded, as well as the thousands more that we have that we now have in our society as a result of the 2 wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and elsewhere. And number 2, getting to the bottom of this this ambush and trying to figure out what's going on. You know, we have, as Secretary Mattis said yesterday, 1,000 troops in West Africa alone. Yeah. Doing counterterrorism missions. And this is a combatant command that has been historically under-resourced. And so I think we need to have a larger conversation now. We need to put all this behind us and have a larger conversation about what we're doing to fight ISIS and al-Qaeda affiliates in that part of the world.
And again, Nia, the White House thought this was going to be put behind everyone with what John Kelly said yesterday. But then the president, continuing it with his tweet last night, saying that Caitlin read it, but I can read it for you, that the fake news is going crazy with wacky Congresswoman Wilson, who was secretly on a very personal call and gave a total lie of the content. Everyone seems to agree that none of this is good where it has gone, if I can say it that way. Not good for Gold Star families, not good for the country. Does the president somehow think this is good for him, though, in some way?
Well, I mean, it's certainly a comfortable place for him to be. It's a real familiar place for him to be going after this congresswoman, Representative